although Trump distanced himself from the Project 2025, is he actually implementing it? Because the proof of the pudding is always in the eating.
Exactly. So it can be a wordplay that he distances himself, but his whole cabinet are actually part and parcel or busy with it.
Correct.
So, he himself is not directly doing it.
Correct.
But everything else is.
It's like the Catholic Church distancing itself from Freemasonry, while most of their prominent people are Freemasons, right?
Yeah.
So while Trump distanced himself from Project 2025, he has nominated several of its authors to fill key government positions. And many of his initial executive orders closely follow proposals outlined in the document. So they're saying, is this now policy, this 2025, or is it a wish list? So they've downgraded it from policy to wish list. But isn't it the same thing? If you write an executive order and the wish list becomes a policy?
Of course. That's why I say it's wordplay.
It's clever wordplay. So is this a question, is 2025 the project making America Catholic again? Is that a good question? Well, here he's dressed more like a Jesuit in a black robe, right? So is he is he playing a double role? We don't know. So the Sky News picks this up and says, is Donald Trump following a right-wing playbook? And what's next? Then they go through a couple of things that actually were implemented. So let's have a look at it. What Project 2025 said, the document called for the president to slash regulations and make federal employees easier to fire. What has Trump done? From the day he returned to office, Mr. Trump has instructed allies to go after the so-called deep state by bringing federal agencies, including the FBI and the Justice Department, much more under presidential control. So he did it.
Yeah.
What else did it say? Illegal immigration should be ended, not mitigated. The border sealed, not reprioritized. What did he do? He has promised tweaking deportations, declared a national emergency at the border with Mexico, and basically stopped it.
Yeah, 99.9%.
So did he implement it?
For sure.
Okay, what else did the project say? The next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. Is he doing it?
He's very hard on that.
Is he going after the universities?
Yeah, you just mentioned it earlier.
Okay, one executive order after the other. It is said this should be done by deleting terms like diversity, equity and inclusion, gender equality and abortion. Didn't they stop all the funding? Didn't the Department of Government Efficiency under Musk identify all of that and just stop it?
Stop it. The DEI was immediately gotten rid of in the first executive order on that first day.
And what was the anger that it invoked? Aren't they burning Teslas and doing all kinds of things as a consequence?
They've got protests everywhere, but now I see there's counter-protests as well from
Well, that's fine. So what has he done? He promised a war on woke and has certainly delivered that. His executive orders have stipulated that there are only two genders and sought to end government support for DEI programs, while the Pentagon has purged DEI content from its online platforms. So that was a given. Is that a wish list or is that an implementation? Well, if you can use financial means to force people to do this, then that is a fulfillment of Daniel chapter 11.
Definitely. You know, this wish list make me think like if you go onto online shopping, you got it in your wish list. Now he's moved the wish list now to the cart, and he's busy.
It's in the cart. Yeah. What else did it say? On the issue of tariffs and trade, the document is split. So what has he done? While he has proved somewhat movable on other policies, President Trump has spoken of his love of tariffs for decades. His series of global tariffs have sent markets tumbling and left allies reeling. But there's going to be a new economic order. And if he can force the world, then he must have some clout.
Well, isn't everybody running around, scrambling around, including our country?
And can he use the economy to force ideologies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Then what else did it say? Federal education policy should be limited, and ultimately the Federal Department of Education should be eliminated. So what did he do? He signed an executive order calling for the dismantling of the Department of Education. You can't implement it better than that.
No.
What next? Well, what did it say? It also said the next conservative administration should scale back US aid global footprint by, at a minimum, returning to the agency's 2019 pre-COVID pandemic budget level. Has it done it?
Yes.
100%. He's gone far beyond. Instead, he has moved to dismantle it altogether. What else did Project 2025 say? The Biden administration's extreme climate policies have worsened global food insecurity and hunger. Its anti-fossil fuel agenda has led to a sharp spike in global energy prices. So let's solve that problem. And a good blackout in Spain might just, make his point. Can you see how all this fits together?
For sure. For sure.
So what has he done? He has withdrawn the US from the Paris Climate Agreement, revoked President Joe Biden's goal on electric vehicles, and promised to drill, baby, drill. So has he implemented it?
Finished. On the way.
Okay. What about this one? The Supreme Court decision to strike down abortion protections in Roe versus Wade is hailed as the greatest pro-family win in a generation, but says things shouldn't stop there. So what has Trump done? While his initial flurry of executive orders did not include measures to expand or enforce the Comstock Act, Dr. Long said it is still very early in the president's term. So, Martin, this is a little long-term agenda. You first have to get the things in place that will give you the leverage that you need, right?
That's true.
You can't implement an ideology until you have the leverage to enforce it, right?
And you can see how that is getting together.
What else did the Project 25 say? The wide-ranging playbook for power called on US allies to take far greater responsibility for their conventional defense. What has he done? Mr. Trump and his administration have urged NATO allies to spend more on defense. He's basically forcing them.
He is.
He's not just asking them.
No.
And then what else? TikTok is in effect a tool of Chinese espionage that should be outlawed by the president. So Trump is trying to negotiate a sale of the app to US operations. So he's playing it by the book. Now I'm interested in the next one.
That's it.
And it's not us mentioning it, it's Sky News.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Let's just make this quite clear. What's next? So what could be next? If Mr. Trump continues to mirror Project 2025, consciously or unconsciously, some unrealized parts of the document include the following. Its focus on family, which it says is in crisis. It adds, it's time for policymakers to elevate family authority, formation, and cohesion as their top priority, and even use government power, is that legislation?
Yes.
Including through the tax code, to restore the American family. with one of the authors saying every threat to family stability must be confronted. What is the number one thing that the papacy has asked for to bring the family back to its original purpose? What was the one thing they asked for?
Sunday legislation.
Sunday legislation. Is that also in the document?
That's in the documentation.
Yes.
But it's already been had a foothold in Europe for a long time.
Yes.
The European Sunday Alliance,
Yes.
pushing it the whole time.
But if they ask for this, and the number one issue in terms of making the family viable again is common time to spend with each other as a family, in order to not only further the aims of the family, so it must be synchronized time. Synchronized time, Martin. How do you synchronize time? That means it doesn't help to give mom a Wednesday off and dad a Sunday off, because then the family is split. It doesn't help to have part of the family subject to school rules and the other one to work rules. That's not synchronized time. How do you get them all together? You must have one common day of rest. Can you have two?
No.
Can you have three?
No.
So what is the default?
Sunday,
One.
for sure.
And what did they say in Project 2025? What is the default day?
Sunday.
So the argument must be synchronized time to bring the families together. That means any other day, even if it is initially allowed for in terms of religious liberty, must eventually give way to synchronized time off. That means only one day per week can be permissible in order for the economy not to suffer. That's for the common good. Therefore, the default will be Sunday. Is this next on the agenda?
Well, I think it's very much prioritized.
Well,
That's why
Sky
they put
News
it there.
asks the question.
They do mention the other ones as well, but this is the first one.
This is the one that they say, what's next?
Because,
I actually hope they're right.
yeah, for sure, and it says, which it says is in crisis.
Yes.
So anything that's in crisis means it's going to get priority.
But before you implement this one, you must first get the leverage to implement it, not only in the United States, but see to it that it is done universally. And the papacy will play a very prominent role. And Laudato Si and Project 2025 give it a very prominent place in their documentation. So Project 2025 talks about Sabbath rest. God ordained the Sabbath as a day of rest, and until very recently, the Judeo-Christian traditions sought to honor that mandate by moral and legal regulation of work on that day. Martin, Judeo-Christian tradition. That means you must stop all anti-Semitism and all Christian bias.
So that's already...
Then they are together. There's only one little problem here. That the Judeo side keeps the Saturday and the Christian side keeps the Sunday.
So one.
Now, which one of the two? What is the national banking day of rest? Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. What is the traditions of the peoples generally?
Sunday.
Sunday. So Judaism is a minority when it comes to that. So if they insist on the Sabbath, Saturday, and the Adventists join them, they'll still be a minority. And if they want to be inclusive and have a synchronized day of rest, then sooner or later, one of the two must give way.
Yeah.
Which one will it be?
The history will be repeated.
Okay.
It will go to the Sunday.
Constantine, didn't he make a Sunday law?
Exactly the same. And then it was still Judaizing,
Yeah.
having Sabbath and Sunday.
And Catholicism then made an anti-Sabbath law. That's history. If Donald Trump is being compared to Constantine, that means he's acting on behalf of the Bishop of Rome. Then the wishes of the Bishop of Rome, the mark of his authority, Sunday keeping, should be legislated for, and Sabbath keeping should be legislated against. I'm wondering who will capitulate. Will it be the Jews or will it be the Adventists? Let's leave that to Providence. Let's see what happens, right? So, Martin, moreover, a shared day off makes it possible for families and communities to enjoy time off together. That's synchronized time, rather than as atomized individuals, and provides a healthier cadence of life for everyone. That's what the document says.
It's the common good.
It comes straight out of papal thinking. So Congress should encourage communal rest by amending the Fair Labor Standards Act to require that workers be paid time and a half for hours worked on the Sabbath. That day would default to Sunday. That's the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
So whether the chair is an evangelical or the vice chair is an Adventist, or whether there is a Jew in the fray, the issue of Sunday versus Saturday is not going to go away easily. Who's going to capitulate is the question. And which day will eventually be enforced in order to have a synchronized day of rest? Universally.
Yep.
Do you think the labor unions will play a part?
Oh, they're playing a major part.
Now in Europe, are the major labor unions on the Sunday bandwagon?
Definitely. All of them.
All of them. Martin, we're in for an interesting ride.
Yeah.
And therefore, on that note, I think we need to pray, because I think the playbook, as it is recorded in Scripture, is unfolding before our eyes.